Just like Assassin's Creed Origins, this game has a slow, boring, unintuitive, poorly designed combat system that just rips off something else that's popular. And it's not like the game is mechanically sound either. It's like they took 5 minutes to come up with this combat system, and it sucks. The sad part is that the game actually has a good story. There's a lot of well-written characters in this game, and the dialogue is also well executed, but I can just watch those things on the internet without, once again, subjecting myself to this long-ass, boring-ass, repetitive-ass game that just drones on and on and on and on for hours and doesn't want to end. So I'm about to call my ship here so I can get to the next location that I need to go to. What the fuck? Oh shit. The AI is stupid as fuck in this game. Big, empty, boring space. Just why? So I tried to take a rowboat out on the water so I can just get to where I need to go faster, but the fucking rowboat just got destroyed as I was out on the water. So now I have to swim all the way to where I need to go, or subject myself to another long loading time if I want to fast travel. This isn't fun. It's boring. Just when you think you've caught up with the side missions, a dozen more pop out of the game's ass to let you know, hey, you're not done yet. The game is also a boring OCD loot simulator where you're constantly switching out weapons and gear throughout the entire playthrough, which makes the game even more repetitive than it already is. Christ. This game is even bigger than Origins was. That's not a good thing.
He has sent threats. Says he'll send a mercenary to kill me. I'm afraid to send the painting, but I'm afraid not to send it and lose my pay. I don't know what to do.
You want me to kill him?
It's time for this mercenary to meet Hades.
Consider yourself lucky. It's already been taken care of.
Wait, what do you mean it's already been taken care of? She didn't even tell you who the target was. The fuck you mean? So, how did I die again? I got hit by a rock? The fucking wild animals in this game will chase you to the ends of the earth if they spot you. So eventually, if you're not on horseback because your character moves so fucking slow, the game forces you to turn around, stop what you're doing, and deal with the annoying enemies that just keep following you everywhere you go. And this game got a fucking Game of the Year nomination. And here we go with the terrible combat mechanics. How is the AI dodging my attacks and they're backed into a wall? How is he dodging my attacks? There's no space for him to maneuver. The fucking AI just does whatever the hell it wants in this game. Not to mention that the game has the same issues that Origins had when it comes to how the enemies were designed, in which they're just nothing but overpowered damage sponges that just soak up damage. The fucking forts in this game aren't fun either. They're just as bad as they were in Assassin's Creed Origins, where if you're caught, you now face the very realistic possibility of being overrun with the same usual poorly designed, overpowered, damage sponge enemies. I'm actually going to put this in fast forward to showcase exactly how long it takes to complete one of these forts if you're caught. Such riveting Game of the Year worthy gameplay, except it's not. I'm just ready for this shit to be over already. Stupid ass, long ass, boring fucking piece of shit. They can't be serious. The spear is just floating off of her back. This is supposed to be an emotional scene, and I can't take it seriously because of how technically unfinished the game is. There's clipping on the character models, like, they just can't be serious. Fuck this game, just end. I'm tired of playing you. End. Piece of shit. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was developed by Ubisoft and published by the same company. The first thing I gotta say about this game is fuck this game. That's the first and most primary thing that I have to say about this game. Because, for the most part, this game just made me angry throughout the entire playthrough. I spent 78 hours of my free time playing this game. A game that is so repetitive, overlong, overproduced, and underdeveloped when it comes to important elements such as the combat system and the exploration, which has this ridiculous gameplay loop that they carried over from Assassin's Creed Origins, that I really found myself wondering, why am I playing this the entire time that I was playing this game? So Assassin's Creed Odyssey really falls in the same category as Assassin's Creed Origins. Everything that was wrong with Assassin's Creed Origins is what's wrong with Odyssey, and then some, because Odyssey is a much bigger game than Origins was. And I remember when this game was unveiled at E3 last year, and I already saw that it was going to be the same shit as Assassin's Creed Origins, and so I already had said that I wasn't going to get this game. But recently I took a dive and I bought it for about $30 a month ago, and it took me a little over 2 weeks to finish this game. Now, of course, I wasn't playing every single day, and there was a small period of time where I wasn't playing this game at all due to certain things that was going on in real life. But when I got back into this game, I literally devoted all of my free time to playing this while trying to juggle work and YouTube and other things. I was not enjoying myself in any way, shape, or form. This game is just, why? Why do games like this exist? And then the thing that really bugs me and nags me about this game is the fact that it was nominated by a bunch of dumbass gaming journalists for Game of the Year last year in 2018. This game is a prime example of what's wrong with the video game industry as a whole. A game like this should not be praised in any way, shape, or form, let alone nominated for Game of the Year. So let me get into some specifics here. So in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you play as either a man or a woman. Both characters are brother and sister. but unlike Assassin's Creed Syndicate, you can only play as one or the other for the entire playthrough. And then there's a New Game Plus, so when you finish the game, if you finish this game, you can go back and play as the other sibling, and that'll slightly change certain things that happen in the story, but for the most part, the story plays out the same way for both characters. And so I chose to play as Cassandra. And essentially, no matter which character you choose to play as, you play as the grandchild of the Spartan warrior Leonidas, and you're a mercenary who is separated from your family, and basically the entire game is about you trying to reunite your family while at the same time taking on this mysterious cult who politically behind the scenes is harming ancient Greece. And that's very similar to just about any other Assassin's Creed game that's out there. So the story for this game is different enough for it to stand out from the other games in the series. The dialogue is well written. There's a lot of great characters in the game. Visually, the game is stunning, and it has some of the best facial animations that I've seen in a video game. So that part of it is great. And there's a lot of unique dialogue options in the game. But ultimately, they are just there to give the player some kind of false sense that they are actually in control of what's happening in the story. Because essentially, your choices don't really change the story that much. Here and there, you'll run into a side mission where the dialogue options will alter the story in a unique way. But for the most part, as far as the overall arching story goes, there's not really a point in the game where your choices greatly influence what happens in the story, with the exception of the ending, because there's multiple endings. There's a good ending and then there's a bad ending, which isn't nothing new. We've seen games like this done before and done better. In particular, the Mass Effect series comes to mind. So what this game is doing with the dialogue options and the RPG shit is nothing new. And essentially, once again, just like with Assassin's Creed Origins, it would actually make more sense to go on the internet and watch the cutscenes instead of subjecting yourself to playing this long, boring-ass game. And speaking of being boring, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with the developers who made this game, because it's like Ubisoft just continuously does this with Assassin's Creed over and over again, where they'll make the same game that they made previously, and they'll just add some things to it, but for the most part, it's exactly the same. And for the most part, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is exactly the same as Assassin's Creed Origins. The combat system is pretty much exactly the same. There's little difference with how you engage in the combat, and it's basically, once again, just another ripoff of Dark Souls, right down to some of the same controls and the same overpowered damage sponge enemies. The poor RPG progression that was in Assassin's Creed Origins is also present in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The numerous side missions, which are just basic random fetch quests and go here, kill this target, and go here, fetch this and bring it back to me, go here and investigate this. All of that shit is the same, and it's brought back here. It's just brought back more in droves compared to Assassin's Creed Origins, and that's one of the biggest things that I actually really dislike about Odyssey. That's one of the biggest problems with the game, is the fact that the side missions are too numerous, and then on top of that, they throw in these conquest battles, where you can either choose to fight on the side of Athens or Sparta, regardless of which side you choose. If you complete these major battles that take place in the game, you obtain rare gear and weapons and experience. And some of them have difficulty levels to them, where if you fight on a particular side, the difficulty is raised, but the rewards are greater. That's fine and all, but in order to engage in the conquest battles, you have to venture out into the open world, which, once again, just like in Assassin's Creed Origins, the open world is way too fucking big in this game. You gotta go and take out certain forts and destroy the opposing faction, that opposing faction's war supplies. You gotta loot the nation chests that are in these forts, and that'll weaken that faction's hold on that particular area until a conquest battle is available, and the game will let you know when it is available. So that's one unique thing about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but just like everything else in the game, it becomes super fucking repetitive to the point where it's no longer fun. Fighting in the conquest battles is fun for like the first 2 times that you do them, but after that it just becomes the same usual thing over and over again. So it's like, it's no longer fun, but at the same time the game still forces you to do them because just like with the side missions, that's the only way to really gain an enormous amount of experience so you can progress. And the worst thing that they did with Assassin's Creed Odyssey is they carried over the RPG progression from Assassin's Creed Origins, which just fucks with the exploration of the game, because if you want to explore any area in this game from the beginning, you can't really do that because you can't engage with certain enemies in certain regions, because once again, they're capped at a certain level, just like they were in Assassin's Creed Origins, and if you're not at a high enough level to take on the enemies in that region, then the game will not allow you to explore that region and succeed in combat. You can't take on any forts, you can't complete any contracts or bounties or any of the side missions in specific areas until you're at a high enough level in order to do so. So even though the game introduces this idea that you can go wherever you want from the beginning, you're still forced to play the game in a specific order due to how shit the RPG progression is in the game. And then to add to the fact that this game is even more random and just monotonous and just repetitive, just like Assassin's Creed Origins was, they have these things called contracts and bounties in the game. And essentially, for the bounties, all it is you run up to some kind of board, some kind of quest log, some kind of message board that's in the different towns that are in the game, and then you just accept a bunch of missions that is listed on the message board, and the bounties are simply tasks where the game is asking you to go to a specific area and kill a target or kill a group of targets, and you'll gain experience. But what really gives you a whole lot of experience are the contracts, which you have to complete specific tasks in order to complete the contracts, and the contracts can give you up to 40 to 50,000 experience points. But the longer you play the game and the more contracts and bounties that you complete, after a while you soon realize that they're just the same thing repeated over and over again. Even the description of them is exactly the same, and essentially you're just doing the same thing throughout the entire game. And that adds to the blatant, gratuitous repetition with the game. So already, in a nutshell, the game is shit with the combat system, it's shit with the RPG progression, it carries over every repetitive gameplay element that was wrong with Assassin's Creed Origins, and it brings those elements back in Assassin's Creed Odyssey worse than what they were in Assassin's Creed Origins, because Odyssey is essentially a much bigger game than Origins, which was already too big on its own. And then it's like the initial level cap for this game is level 50. The side missions and the contracts and the bounties, they don't stop once you reach the initial level cap in this game. That's why Ubisoft went and they raised the level cap for one of the game's patch updates, which I believe is like level 71 or whatever is the final level cap that they put on this game. Because after I reached the level cap, which is once again level 50, I was still completing the main missions and certain side missions in the game, and yet the game says I was earning experience, but I wasn't actually earning experience because I already reached the level cap in the game. And that's why I'm saying that, like, the RPG progression is just poorly handled in this game. It was poorly designed from the jump. Then you have the mercenaries that are in this game, and the mercenaries were brought over once again from Assassin's Creed Origins, except in this game they're far more annoying to deal with than they were in Assassin's Creed Origins. And so what it is if you start attacking forts and you start stealing from the different NPCs that are in the game, then you accumulate a bounty, which you can either pay off or you can go and kill a target, and that'll lower your bounty level. But if you don't do either of those things, the stronger NPC characters known as mercenaries will hunt you. And basically, if your bounty level is high enough, if you enter combat just one time, the mercenaries will just find you randomly right in the middle of combat. And there's multiple mercenaries that can enter a fight to where you have to deal with more than one at once. And at one point during the game, I had to fight off 3 mercenaries at the same time. And the only reason I was able to succeed in combat is because I climbed up on an area where the AI couldn't reach me, and I just sniped them in the head with the bow and arrow. And so that's another big problem with the combat system, is that you're forced to use the overpower abilities, or you're forced to use the bow and arrow in order to succeed in combat, because the enemy NPCs are just glorified damage sponges, so much so to the point where your base attacks don't really do a whole lot of damage, and it gets worse the farther you go in the game. This is exactly how Assassin's Creed Origins was designed, and it hasn't been fixed in this game. Not only that, but the game is just way too long for what it is, doing all these repetitive tasks. Like I said, I spent almost 80 hours playing this game, and I ripped through the bulk of the game's content. I uncovered all of the world map, which took forever. I completed numerous side missions, which probably total to well over 100, which also includes just the normal side missions as well as the contracts and the bounties. I acquired most of the abilities that were in the skill tree. Obviously, I couldn't get them all because Ubisoft fucked up the level progression in this game. And so once you reach the level cap, you realize you're still earning experience, or the game says you're still earning experience, but because you reach the level cap, you can't obtain the rest of the skills that you didn't get in the skill trees. And the only way that you can raise the level cap is if you download all of the patch updates, which totals to well over 9 gigabytes in size. And again, with the side missions, there are certain side missions that are unique to where certain events will happen in them that actually makes them fun and stand out from the rest of the usual boring trash that's in the side missions that the game is filled with. A good example would be the side missions that lead up to you fighting one of these Greek mythological creatures, the Minotaur, Medusa, the Sphinx, and the Cyclops. But those are only a handful of missions in a game that's filled with well over 100 different side missions that have you do the same boring, repetitive task over and over and over again ad nauseum. And it's games like this that really make me just want to say fuck it to gaming altogether. Because it's like, what the hell? Why are we still praising games like this and giving games like this Game of the Year nominations? I just find it baffling. And then they brought back the ship combat that was made popular in Assassin's Creed 4, but it's nowhere near as good as Assassin's Creed 4, because in Assassin's Creed 4, there were certain points where you'll be out at sea and you'll come across this bell icon, and then you can dive underwater, and it's an actual underwater level that you can explore and obtain loot from. Whereas in this game, the underwater shit when you're out at sea is just one big empty ass space. And here and there you will run into certain enemies like sharks, but you don't run into those types of situations too often in the game. And so basically what's wrong with Assassin's Creed Odyssey is exactly what's wrong with Assassin's Creed Origins. I'm just done with the series. I'm through with playing these games. I will not play another one of these things again, especially if it's like this. If the next Assassin's Creed game is anything like Origins or Odyssey, you can count me out. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in playing this long ass game that's just boring as fuck and it's just big just to be big. The open world is just one large country that you can explore. It's filled with the same locations, the same boring forests or the same boring deserts or the same boring underwater locations that's just been copy and pasted into the game at random. And the sad part is, had Ubisoft kept the design of the older Assassin's Creed games for this ancient Greek setting, then this could have been something really unique and special. Instead, everything that Assassin's Creed Odyssey does, it borrows either from Assassin's Creed Origins or it borrows from some other popular RPG game, such as The Witcher 3, the Fallout series, the Mass Effect series, so on and so forth. This game can go straight to hell. Fuck this game. Fuck anyone who voted on this for Game of the Year, because this is not Game of the Year worthy material in any way, shape, or form. And if this is what Assassin's Creed is going to continuously be for future entries of the series, then fuck Assassin's Creed. I had already lost interest in Assassin's Creed years ago because I saw the direction that the series was going. This is not a good direction. Just like I mentioned with my Assassin's Creed Origins retrospective. What is the point of having good graphics, well-written characters, a well-written story that has a lot of layers to it, and all these beautiful locations in the game? What's the point of all that if the gameplay itself is repetitive as fuck and the game is just big just to be big? Video games are all about gameplay. So you can have the best graphics in the world, you can have the best animators in the world, you can have the best storytellers in the world, but if the gameplay is shit, then all of that is null and void. And Assassin's Creed Odyssey is indeed just that. One big pile of shit.